You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, your business matters. And we have sharp, intelligent women on the show. I mean, like, unbelievably, constantly having wonderful women on the show. And Elizabeth, today is no exception. Thank you so much for being our co-host for the entire month. We really do appreciate it. Misfit One. And our guest for the rest of the show is Susan Johnson. She is with Keller Williams, but it's a team that you have led for years, just simply because I know you. Am I right?
You're right, Joe. You're always right.
Almost.
Yeah, right.
Correct me if you'd like. I'm okay with that. You know, off the air, these ladies have been correcting me all morning. You understand? So I'm okay if you want to correct me on that.
No, you're right. Yep.
Okay. So we've known each other for years because I have watched you over the years market and brand yourself and your team for years. And I have been admiring and impressed at what you have done over the years in real estate. Talk about what makes the difference between an average realtor and an exceptional one. Because by far, not because I just love you and adore you, but you are an exceptional realtor. What makes a difference?
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be able to meet Elizabeth. Definitely going to check out your website for sure.
We're getting together.
She doesn't need it, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
She doesn't need
I don't know. I got a whole bunch of stuff underneath that water
it's
level
not
there.
just for losing weight.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. So, it's kind of funny. I've been doing this for over 17 years and have thoroughly enjoyed it. I love my clients. I love what I do. I actually... born in Charlotte proper. I've lived in West Charlotte, South Charlotte.
Oh, you're one of those people.
I am one of those people,
Okay.
Right? I don't think you can say native anymore, so I have to say Charlotte proper, right? And at the end of the day, it's kind of a really cool thing to be able to have seen and lived in all of the different areas within Charlotte. So, that's one of the things that I bring to the table is the knowledge of all the various areas. The other thing is, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a perfectly good reason, which is you really need to listen more. Mm-hmm. Listen to what your clients want. Listen to what their needs are. Do a needs assessment to really truly figure out what they are actually wanting and not necessarily what you think is best for them. And then the third thing really truly is communication. Communication is key. It's key in all kinds of relationships, but particularly, in real estate, it's key to truly understanding it, and also just being able to talk through what people are needing and communicate based on how they want to be communicated with. I had a client yesterday who said,
and boy, has that changed.
Right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I had a client yesterday. She said, I hate email. I'm not going to email her.
Right,
I'm going to text her. I'm going to call her, but I'm not going to email her. So, really listening to how do they want to be communicated with. So that's really key.
I'm curious. I sell small businesses, and I probably sell for the last 3 years 1 or 2 small business a year. Texting only. If you'd have told me I would be selling a business only through text, never meet the buyer, I would have never believed it. Is that happening with you? Tell me what does the communication look like for you when it comes to a house? Is it as dramatic as what I just described happened in my business?
Probably, if you kind of break it down, I would say texting is probably 60% of communication. And people,
is that not amazing?
It is amazing, but we've gotten so accustomed to it, and it's just super easy to do a quick text, whether you use 1 finger or 2 thumbs, however you're going to text. It's just really easy, and you can do it in the middle of whatever else you're doing. And so I think that that's kind of key because it's instantaneous gratification, really.
Now, the difference for you and me is I'm not governed by the license agency for selling a business, so I don't have to have a formal paper. I can use letters of intent, letter of consideration, this informal way, right? And so my clients will negotiate through text. Well, you can't do that, correct? It has to be in a formal setting, or
no.
You're getting negotiations through text?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yep. We're now allowed to do that. So,
oh, wow.
I mean, as long as it's in writing. Absolutely.
So the text is official writing?
And so,
you got to save it. You
absolutely have to save it, So it's screenshot every time, put it in the file for sure.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's hilarious. I wouldn't have thought that.
She collecting them receipts, you see.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That really is. So okay, let's go back. Now you don't have to go back to 1962, okay, like Elizabeth did. But
look,
give me
74.
74.
72.
But tell me a little bit about your background, because you didn't wake up on a Tuesday and say, I want to be a realtor, did you? I mean, is that what happened?
No, I actually I was in banking for 10 years. And a friend of mine convinced me to go get my real estate license, and just did it on a whim. I love education. I have a master's degree, and just really, truly love to be constantly engaged in some sort of learning-based, situation, whether it's continuing ed or whatnot. And I found out that I was pregnant with my second son and decided that I was going to use that 6 months to either make it in real estate or not make it in real estate and go back to banking. And I loved it so much that I decided to, leave the banking world that I knew for the last 10 years. And
did you think you were going to be good at it? I mean, did you?
I'm good at everything, Jess.
I got you. You're right. You're right. I'm not going to argue with that. You're right. You're right.
But no, I mean, it was.
But you had a mental, I can do this. I got this.
Yeah, and I just love people. And, it's all about, like, exactly what I said before. It's all about just engaging, listening to what people want, and being, knowledge-based enough to be able to help them because purchasing a home is one of the biggest things that you could ever buy, truthfully, whether it's you're buying it, you're selling it, or you're investing it in something like that. I do a lot of 1031 exchanges, and that's kind of a crazy space and place for real estate, so as long as you know kind of what you're doing and you know how to help people, that's the biggest thing.
I took a course on negotiation and dispute resolution. I do a lot of partnership which it turns out to be this sort of marriage breakup kind of thing with partnership. And I took it. It's a Harvard course that we went through, and I realized the hardest people and the most skilled negotiators are the ones that have to work with inexperienced people that think they negotiate well, like realtors, because you have clients that think they can do this, right? And you can't say, no, you don't know, but you have to work with them on that, which really is a skill set. To talk a little bit about the experience level, because you've got clients that are CEOs, very skilled, understand, and you've got people, first-time home buyers, and they all think that they're Donald Trump, and can do this. Talk a little bit about that, because it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. The room went silent, like, crickets.
I know, right? Well, it's kind of, you just have to really, truly just know your audience and kind of mirror and match. They talk about that a lot, mirror and match. So, we do a lot in Keller with disc profiles and, what the personality is. And you basically look at whoever you're talking to based on their personality, and you match that personality. So I've got clients who, exactly to your point, who have seasoned, they've done a lot of different transactions in their lifetime. And then I've got people who are first-time home buyers. And it's mainly just about educating, and that's essentially, what you have to do, whether they are knowledgeable or they have no clue. And,
Interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's a really fine line, honestly. But if you mirror and you match.
Do they come to you and say, I don't know? I mean,
oh, yeah, all the time.
Okay.
I've got
I don't get a lot of that. I get, they know, small business people, we know everything. You understand that?
Yeah, and exactly. And, people keep getting into the real estate business, and you see a lot of new people going into real estate school, particularly over the last 2 years, because it's just been such a crazy market. And they think it's easy. It is not easy. And you have to know a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of liability that goes along with it. And so, you really, truly have to know your stuff, and to be able to truly work with and help whoever, whether it's buyers, sellers, or investors.
Years ago, residential real estate's been a hobby of mine since I was 17 years old. Bought my first a piece of property. My mom had to sign, because I was too young to buy it, right? So years ago, and I can remember those days, right?
Yep.
And once I met my wife, I told her, I really like this real estate thing. I think I'm going to go ahead and get my license, right? My wife is one of those people just sit down, and read a book and take a test, no problem. So I wanted her to come with me, just in case I needed to cheat, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Literally, the first day of the real estate course, the teacher gets up and says, if you're here and think you're going to be an investor and it's going to help you to have your real estate license, let me warn you right now, it's actually going to be the exact opposite. And he went through all the risk liability. I looked at my wife and said, I'll see you later. I got to go. I got up, I left the room, right, and my wife ended up getting her real estate license.
There you go.
Let's take a break, and we're going to come back, and I want you to give us some advice on what new realtors in the business ought to be thinking about.
Okay, great.
You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, your business matters.
If it's Friday morning, your business matters.
I need one of those. Where do you get those?
And we are back. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, your business matters. We are here with Elizabeth Misfit One. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it.
I love it. Thank you.
And Susan Johnson. I got that first name.
Yeah,
You
good
did.
job.
I have a problem with that first name.
I know.
I don't
know
have a
why.
problem with you,
It's
but
the simplest name ever.
I'm sorry. And you've got a team that you put together with Keller Williams. And you've been doing that for how long now?
Over 17 years.
So, what advice would you give somebody that's listening right now, thinking about getting into the real estate business? Because you practically told them don't do it at the beginning of the break. So is that it? Stay out of it. You tell me.
Don't think it's easy.
Right.
Absolutely, because it's not. And like I said, there's a lot of liability. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do. I mean, we have an entire compliance department that makes sure that all of our stuff, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, because it's very important. I mean, you could lose your license. You could be fined for different things. So.
And people are so relying on your advice and opinion, and it changes their lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One way or the other. And if you've got an agent that does not, give good advice or gives inaccurate information, I mean, that's a huge liability for you. So,
okay. So I have watched my home on the lake go up about 40% in 12 months, right? And now it's gone down about 30% in a month and a half. What is happening with the market? I think I told you I'm a hobbyist, with residential real estate, and I've never seen anything like it is. I don't know how you can keep track of what's happening and the value of this. Walk me through what's happening in the market right now.
It's nothing that we've ever seen. It is nothing that we have ever seen. COVID did crazy things all across the board, but one of the things, for whatever reason, it created such a frenzy for real estate. And I think a lot of it had to do with, people now, they can work from home. They can work remotely. And so, it kind of took away the requirement of living where you work, per se. And
so locations change.
Absolutely. And because you're absolutely right. The prices went up about 40% across the nation. And we're starting to see prices come down slightly, but we're still not seeing like where prices are going down, like in some areas, like Austin, Texas, for instance. It absolutely went down tremendously. And, so for the Charlotte area, we're seeing a little bit of a price drop, but mainly it's because sellers are still thinking that they can overprice their homes, and people are going to come and you're going to have multiple offers.
Right.
And,
that was a short-lived, maybe a 12-month sort of bubble, I guess.
It was. And then, you also had historically low interest rates, which caused people to want to purchase as well. I mean, I had, to your point, CEOs who came to me and they're like, hey, we want to purchase, but we're going to finance because it was so inexpensive to finance. Why use my cash when I can finance that? So at the end of the day, now rates have gone up. They went up again slightly yesterday. And so, but they have come down from their highs in the last, I think it's 5-month highs. So they have started to come down. We're starting to see buyers get back into the market. But not on on the same level as what we saw 6, 8, 12 months ago.
You know, what I found to be surprising, it seemed to be this standard, right? That if you want more home for your money, you just head further out of a metro area. Like you go to Statesville, you go to the Troutman or something like that, right? And find that you can get a more home for the money. Somewhere along the line, that's no longer true. And now it doesn't matter how far away you are from Charlotte, you're still paying that high multiple. That really surprised me when I did that. I did that review. Yeah,
and you still can get a good deal if you go out more so than if you're in Charlotte or if you're in the lake, particularly like you said, on the lake. Lake Norman area is, you're absolutely paying a premium for sure. And so if you go out a little bit, but we have no more land. Right. And so that's the whole thing is you have to go out if you want some land. You have to go out into more of those rural areas. But you're still going to be paying higher than what you would have paid. And it's all about affordability. And, when you talk about affordability, I was looking at something yesterday and, California, for instance, they have so overpriced themselves that they have basically they are no longer affordable to people based on, the local media and what people are making. We're starting to see a little bit of that. But again, we're not in those type of markets right now. But, you still have to really, truly see what you can actually afford.
Right. Well, for me, my wife and I, during that last 12 months, when the home was off the chart, we're thinking, well, why don't we sell this home and move a little bit further out and do a swap and get some equity out of it? We didn't find that was possible. That you were paying just as much for the purchase as anything you thought you might have been picking up.
Yeah. Yep.
And so now we're watching all of that thinking, gosh, we're glad we didn't go through that because you really could find yourself caught up and living someplace you actually didn't want to live.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. People are now thinking, prices are going to drop. We're going to see it's a recession or whatnot. And people think that we're going to go back to 2008. We're not going back to 2008.
Right.
And a lot of the reason is, we know, lenders do not do subprime loans anymore. They don't do no doc loans anymore.
Oh, I used
you
to,
basically
as a self-employed person,
absolutely.
No doc. It was like,
yeah, exactly. Hey, I make $1 million a year. Right. Perfect. Great. Yeah. Let's get you a house, right?
I'll take
exactly.
2 of those.
Exactly. So, there are lots of things that have been put in place to ensure that you actually can qualify for those properties, number one. And then, secondly, as far as the equity that has been built because of the 40% increase, you're not seeing the foreclosures and the short sales that we saw at that point in time either.
Right.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to reach you, and I encourage people listening to contact her, how can they reach you?
My cell phone number is 704-651-9023. You feel free to call or text, Joe.
Text.
And my website is homecarolinas.com.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you so much. It's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Julie gave me this pleasurable Friday afternoon to have both of you here today. Thank you so much.
Thanks you.
For having us,
we enjoyed it.
We got to do this. I cannot believe it's been so long since I got you on the show.
I know, right?
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know either, but hey, I get to see you in your pink scarf.
There you
that's
go.
Great.
Elizabeth, that's your fault. Her picking on me is your fault. She would have never done that before.
I just think it's so adorable.
It is. I love it.
If it's Friday morning, somebody's picking on Joe. Have a good day. We'll see you next week.